Space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the starship Enterprise. Its 5-year mission, to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilization, to boldly go where no man has gone before.
Greetings, salutations, and welcome to Retrek. I'm Captain Jim, and with me, of course, Sir Admiral Elliot.
Hi there.
And Dr. Squee.
Dragon!
And we're here to talk about the latest episode of Star Trek Discovery, the halfway point of the season,
Before
Mirrors.
we get into it, can I just give a bit of Retrek news?
You
and
can.
Our problems with streaming at the moment.
You can.
Like, I know we have people who watch us on Facebook on a regular basis.
Not anymore, we do.
No, Facebook have decided that they no longer let third parties stream to a group. And the Retrek page and High Council page that some people watch us off are groups. You can now only stream to a page, like a profile page.
Yep.
So we've set up a new Retrek page for streaming. And Facebook have a delay until they'll allow them of several weeks. So for the time being, it's going out on my profile on Facebook. You can watch us. We're on Twitch, and you can follow us on the YouTube. And I am putting links up to follow us on YouTube every week.
And of course, the audio will go out usually
As
a
normal.
week after the live recording. But yes, we're having fun with Facebook.
Yeah. The only thing I would say, Elliot, is next time you're setting up, either use James on my profile as well, just to get it to as many of our friends.
It's because I'm doing it. We can
are we on Twitch?
Yeah. We're on Twitch, YouTube, and
Twitch, yeah,
and my profile. So I've done one, but then I'm copying the link from YouTube.
Yeah, as long as we're using all 3 slots, just may as well get out to as many people.
If you want to copy the one I put on the Retrek group page, because that has the link to our YouTube.
Yep.
And there we go. We've got a YouTube watcher. Jay Watts says stupid Facebook. Yes, indeed. Okay. So we're here to talk about Mirrors, which is the 5th episode. Yes, Dr. Squee has something to say immediately.
Well, I was just going to say, before we get into the sort of specifics, just generally my feeling on this episode. There are so many kind of storylines they just don't follow, or undercooked storyline. It feels like they're trying to throw the kitchen sink at this one. Like right from the beginning, you've got like... Hugh is dealing with this existential crisis, which is like one little bit at the beginning, one little bit at the end.
Yeah, that was weird.
You've got the non-binary person, Adira starts talking about how she blames herself for everything that happened the week before. Nothing with that. There's so many things which just and the whole thing with the Enterprise from the Mirror Universe doesn't really it's basically the ship, and we hear a bit about Saru. Like, I don't want to go too deep into that before we get there, but it's like, hey, David. But yeah, just so much which they try and throw in here, which just doesn't go anywhere or doesn't get enough.
It's mid-season, unless these are all threads that they're planning to pick up in the next half.
It's possible.
It's sort of like, they are throwing too much at one episode.
I think,
and it's like the existential crisis of Culber. Where's that come from? Because he was all like, he's dealt with his dying previously.
Yeah, I mean, he died 3 seasons ago.
Yeah,
Come on.
We've seen him deal with that.
Oh.
Yeah, but we've seen that dealt with. And
you're right.
And then he was all up for this with the Trill, and he enjoyed the experience, and now suddenly it's an existential crisis.
Well, the way they landed it, like, I sort of get what they were trying to get at. That it's like this new experience has made him like realize just everything's so much bigger and everything, and he's feeling spiritual, and he's worried how it's going to affect him and Stamets. But they don't really they very much rush through that. Like, there's just not enough time. Like, if you are going to. I usually am a favor of laying down stuff for later, but only if you can do it naturally. It's like it's just too much to even lay down something for the future, really.
Like, it felt forced because out of nowhere, as soon as Tilly came in the room, it was funny. And it's like, what the fuck has Tilly done to you?
Yeah. I mean, it's like, again, I don't want to kind of preempt what we're going to go into, but it's like with the Enterprise, like don't get me wrong, like seeing the Enterprise, especially the Mirror Universe one, like which we don't, haven't really kind of seen. Great, wonderful. Like I love the idea, but like I want a reason why it's there. Where it's like there could have been any ship really.
There is absolutely no reason to make it the Mirror Enterprise.
There is a very good reason to make it the Mirror Enterprise.
Well, because they've got the set.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, yeah. If you're going to do that, let's at least have like Ethan Peck and Wesley something. Is it like have them show up like in with their little rubbish beards? Like go for it. Like if you're going to go Mirror Universe, have some fun with it. At least have like Spock with a beard kind of pop.
I think this would have been an awesome opportunity to have Mirror Spock make a return, played by Ethan Peck.
Yeah.
I think that would have been great. But
then you could really do the storyline, which she's basically doing through messages, like which it's
missed opportunities.
It's an odd choice. I mean,
like if we're talking about the Enterprise again, because we've seen the Enterprise look beautiful in Strange New Worlds, and it's quite obvious they're using the same model, and all they've done is change the graphics for the name of it, but they have the CGI model. It's not a problem for them. It's not like they're creating something new, and yet still on Star Trek Discovery, they managed to make it so we can hardly see the fucking ship.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah, that's
when it first
very
appears. Well, so shall we go through it? Sorry, I know I threw us down this, but Jim, did you want to take us through it sequentially?
No, I mean, I'm glad we're sort of getting this out of the way, because I think overall this was a pretty strong episode, and I think the central storyline,
I
like that. Yeah,
was pretty good. But you're right.
It's like Discovery is almost it has this style that they decided on for how they're showing spaceships that none of us like. We want to see the spaceships properly.
Yeah, no, it's not happening.
We like spaceships.
Like I mean, when they originally showed the Enterprise in the kind of like fog of wherever it is, it's like I honestly thought because it's in the future, we were going to see a future Enterprise because it wasn't distinguishable as the Enterprise. Like you couldn't see it to know that it was the Enterprise, like no AB, bloody
the ISS Enterprise.
To be fair, like how the nacelles look crossing the fog, I almost thought it was the Kelvin Prize.
That'd be interesting.
Universe.
That'd be
because the nacelles look really big compared to.
Yeah.
Really cross the timelines. That would have been so much fun.
Right at the end, as soon as it comes out, I think it's Stamets who goes, "Is that the ISS Enterprise?" How can you tell? You can't see the bloody thing.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think that centrally this episode's really good. I agree with you about how they drop the stuff in like Tilly and Culber. And it almost reminds me of, even though I'm a fan of this show, there were... in the later seasons of Supernatural, you'd have an ongoing storyline, and usually it would be that one of the brothers is lying to the other one about something. And they would have 2 minutes at the start of the episode where they'd talk about it. Then you'd have the episode and not a mention. And then you'd have 2 minutes in the car at the end where they'd talk about it again. And it was their kind of way of going, yeah, we've not forgot the arc plot, but here's the story of the week. And it's almost like that with this Culber and Tilly stuff and the Adira thing.
Yeah, but Supernatural was really good at doing that.
It was good at doing it, but it was a wee bit silly.
Do you know what? It felt like I've written it in an ADHD hyper and not been allowed any rewrites.
Yeah, like the Adira stuff, it's like, I don't need another character racked with guilt on this show.
Yes.
And, like, you know, we've had this thing with Adira and Grey splitting up, and that was a bit of a melodrama. And now we got this thing with Adira feeling bad about the thing last week. No, we don't need it. Anyway, for the main part of the story, I do have a lot of good things to say. So we start off with Book doing a personal log, and he kind of belatedly justifies why he feels this connection to Maul, and for the first time, I actually found myself kind of buying it. Like when he does this personal log, it's like, well, I've lost my home, my family. I respected this guy who was my mentor. This is his daughter, and I was like, okay, right. I can
see
start
why
to understand your character motivation now.
Yeah.
So I think it's a little bit, 2 episodes later than it should have been, but
honestly,
at least we're getting there.
It's what I think all three of us have already said. It's like, Book is so much more interesting outside of his relationship with the captain. It's like
yeah, definitely.
He just like and probably the same for her as well. Like when they get together, it's just always melodrama. It's always just so over-egged.
Whereas again,
and can we address that now? We have another bloody episode. That's Burnham and Book who have to go on their mission.
Yeah, we'll get to that bit in a second.
Yeah, I'm saving my thoughts for when
so,
we get there.
they find the hidden wormhole, and Michael and Book are going to take the shuttle. Then you do get Rayner interjecting, and you think he's going to do the Commander Riker thing, and he's going to say, I cannot allow you to beam down.
Yeah, and I said this the other week. He heard me.
But this is how it goes. Rayner goes, are you sure that's the best thing, you beaming down? It's far too dangerous. And she goes, no, it has to be me and Buck. And he just goes, at least take a security team. Like, whoa, stick to your guns, Rayner. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. I mean, for me, it was
immediately he just changes. Take a security team then. Well, argue the point a little bit, Rayner.
And now every time we're even suggested that we're going to get a Rayner Burnham parent, I'm so excited. Like I think they work so well together because they are different. He's like he needs to smooth his rough edges. She needs to sort of learn a little bit to like take things seriously. I'm sorry, take
it a bit more seriously. It's not all.
Honestly, it feels like the last 4 series were a prequel to this guy training the crew.
Yeah,
like this is so much more interesting than anything today.
It's really a starship, not a hippie commune, you know.
Yeah.
I like the idea that we all love each other and all this stuff, but sort it out. Anyway, okay, so again, I want to give this...
Sorry, Rayner, before we go off that. Just the bit... I was confused, though, because it's like, he was a captain 5 minutes ago. Now he's worried to take the helm. Like, were they trying to say, and they didn't really... that the idea is that because it's such a different ship to his that he came from, that he's worried, but they don't really land that. I think that's what they were getting at. Is that what you guys took from it? I was confused.
Well, I think there's a bit where she says, when was the last time you took the con from another captain? And I think it's I think it's the reversal of the power dynamic that's freaking him out a little bit. It's like, I was a captain.
I'm used to being the head honcho.
Now I'm being a temporary captain. So I think that was, and I think maybe, and this is probably just us reading into it, like perhaps there's almost a bit of trepidation and almost embarrassment on Michael's part. Like, you are the same rank as me, but I'm putting you...
Well, no, it's not me, because he's been demoted, hasn't he, to commander?
Well, yeah, but that's always been a bit... I think he still holds the rank of captain, but he's functionally a commander. And they do that sometimes in Star Trek, where they'll go, right, you're the captain because you're in charge. Or
but if you look at his pips have gone down.
His pips gone down.
Yeah, okay. I thought he had to resign from Starfleet so he'd lose his rank.
Oh,
and then Burnham has brought him in as a commander. So
I didn't get that.
So he lost. How many pips is it for Captain? 4.
4.
So he lost all 4 pips and then gained 3 pips.
So
I assume it was more like
loss of 1 pip.
No, I assume. No, how I read it was like he had to resign from Starfleet because he was basically kicked out of Starfleet. So he wasn't just demoted; he was booted out, so he had no rank. But then Burnham has gone, right, I know how to get around what the top brass says has to be for the rules. I'll just bring him back as my second in command, and I can't make him a captain again, but I can do one lower.
Maybe,
I mean, I sort of assume, because again, it's another thing which, like, in the dialogue later, you sort of find out that he's a commander, because, like, she mentions it or he mentions it, but it isn't mentioned at the time. But we know that he comes back as her first officer, and then later on you find out that he's been demoted.
Yeah, I didn't realise he'd been formally
But yeah, I mean,
demoted,
I sort of assumed along the same.
That hearing that he had, he was basically kicked out with Starfleet.
Yeah, he was.
Well, yeah, what I got was like the same.
And then you have her conversation with Admiral Daddy Bear, and she wants him back as a commander, and he okays it.
Sorry,
so he lost four pips.
He lost
4 pips and then got 3 back.
Yeah, well, I mean, I didn't think of it as losing and getting 3, but I think it was like originally he was going to get fired, and then she goes, "Nah, don't fire him, just demote him and make him my first officer," and it was kind of agreed.
Maybe whatever way, I will accept that he's now a commander. So there is what I thought was a very clever little bit of writing, the way they did it, which we don't always get from Discovery, unfortunately. But there's the bit where Michael references a battle, and she says, "Well, I've been reading up on your culture, just like you read up on mine," which ties into all these cultural references Rayner has made, but it's also going to play a part later in the episode. Yeah. But because it's natural, the way she drops it in here, it isn't heavily foreshadowed that this is going to play a part in the plot.
Love that.
Yeah, which is actually very unusual. And it's actually unusual in this episode because they're very heavy-handed with some of the bits and pieces.
Whereas I thought...
But this one is just... This one, like you say, it's just natural conversation.
It's picking up a thread that we've already had, and it's going to do something else later in the episode, but it doesn't overplay its hand to the point that we're expecting it to come back. So, well done, writers.
I also love the poem was very nicely done. It really felt like an old poem.
Yeah.
Just nice to do.
On the other side of cultural stuff, I did enjoy this bit where Buck sort of quotes a Quajon saying, and it's this really long drawn out thing that's a load of rubbish, and Michael just sort of goes, "Catchy." I thought that was quite nice. And then they go through the wormhole, they find Mull and Locke's ship, so that's out of action now. And then, as we've said, they find the Enterprise, but it's the ISS Enterprise. It's the mirror. And Buck even says it's the mirror universe, which it isn't the first time on screen we've called it that, because Rom did that back in the DS9 episode. But I'd still always find it weird because it's like, no, that's a fan term. That's what we call it, because the first episode was called Mirror Mirror. It's weird that you use that in universe, but...
I think that's one of those things because it's from the 60s. So we're talking, approaching 60 years ago, the original Mirror Mirror episode.
Oh, yeah.
So I think it's one of those things when did we next see the Mirror Universe? Was it Enterprise?
DS9, season 2.
Sorry, DS9. But I think by then it had already come into pop cultures. The Mirror Universe.
Yeah.
And you've there was a good 30 years between the episodes at that time. So you've got the writers are already calling it what we as the fans expect it to be called.
Absolutely.
I mean, I think it's one of those interesting things where when you have a series goes on this long and you've got something from way back, it makes more sense to use how the fans reference it already than try come up with a new name for it and then shoehorn it into what the fans have got to call it.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's always one of those things. It's like until they mention that on screen, it's just a fan term. But since they I've
no problem with it.
There's an interesting one which someone used along the same line. Someone once asked the question, which I absolutely love. And I think it was on the Star Trek podcast. They were talking about they were using something else which was used off screen, which got written into the show. And they go, it's like with Columbo. It's like, now, is Columbo a man with a lazy eye? Or is the Peter Falk playing Columbo? He has a lazy eye, but he's playing a character who's got 2 good eyes. It's like, until they mention it on screen, Columbo's got a great set of eyes. Until they actually reference it in a Columbo,
you're right.
Which I don't think they ever do.
But I do think it's nice that in universe they're now calling it what the fans named it.
I don't mind it. I just always find it a little bit weird. So
well, they did that on Star Wars in like one of the new ones. I think it was The Last Jedi. It was with Luke Skywalker, and he was like mocking the lightsaber which Rey had. And it's like, oh, what? I'm gonna go and stop this like unbeatable foe with a light sword, and it was like the name which they used for the knockoff version.
Laser sword,
a laser sword, sorry, which was always the name of the knockoff one, which was sold quite popularly.
Yeah, though I think they do call it that in the Phantom Menace as well. Like I think little Anakin, I think little Anakin says like, "I saw your laser sword." But again, by the time the Phantom Menace came round, all them knockoff ones had been out there for years. So
I saw delete the Phantom Menace from my mind,
which is very wise.
Yeah.
Well, if you want something to do at the weekend, the Odeon are re-showing the Phantom Menace.
They are, yeah. The 25th
Oh, I'm busy. When is it?
Yeah. Okay, so Rayner has another good moment where he goes in and he goes, right, tell me one sentence, come on. And then it turns out the explanation is very long-winded. He's like, okay, I get it. You can use more words.
No. He goes like, oh, yeah. So it can't be summed up. More words. It's like just even
I really like that.
Word count low.
That's it. He's sort of getting.
I think
to use more.
To be fair, it's that's very meta. Actually, what he's doing there, I need it concise, and a lot of these new AI handhelds that you get,
This is true.
You can scan emails and stuff and go, give me a synopsis of what it is. Instead of having to read the whole thing, and it's almost like he's got into his head. Yeah, just tell me what I need to know. I don't need a conversation at the same time.
I love the idea.
Sora, if you got ChatGPT, come on.
Yeah,
it also kind of explains him a bit more because it's like if he just goes right 20 words and that's it, then he could seem like a dick. But it's like, no, tell me 20 words, which is going to get me kind of like realizing this is important. And then if those 20 words are impressive enough or like, that you're onto something, I'll give you more words. Like it's a sort of sorting system. If it's a word which doesn't work, like, a system which doesn't work on any level, within 20 words, you might find that out. I kind of like it sort of like.
It's how a lot of newspaper articles are written that to make the editing process easier, each paragraph has to be written as though it could be the end of the article.
Yes.
And then when it comes to cutting down the word count, you just cut the bottom bit off.
Yeah, of
and
course.
it goes like that. I mean, not all newspaper articles, but certainly some.
No, I heard that once. I completely forgot about it. Thank you for reminding me. Yeah.
So really nice. Go on.
Just to complete that bit, it's like I was just going to say, it's like I kind of love the idea. I sort of like wonder, which I don't really even need it answered, but it's kind of interesting to think. It's like, is this a Rayner thing, or is some of this just his cultural thing? I mean, I think he is definitely a dick amongst himself because he's in his own way. But it's like I like to think some of this is based on a cultural thing as well. Like one of the things I love about kind of like the starships which we've seen over Star Trek, or the kind of like different crews, is it's like this is the best place to bring out the best in someone. So if someone has got a kind of species who are very abrupt and to the point, but they take the point of dickishness, they will respect the fact that their species is blunt and to the point, but they'll just teach them ways of using that in a non-dickish way. It's like it's the difference between a good captain and a bad one, or someone who or good people to work with, or people who don't know how to get the best out of someone. Even though I think he's been given loads of chances, they're just really good at getting the best out of him.
Like, to be fair, we saw last week he was able to use like his 20 words to his advantage. He'd learned what he needed to be able to do something.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So Michael then on the bridge of the Enterprise, there's a lovely scene where she talks about it being Spock's station, and then there's a brilliant bit of dramatic irony where she says she's not met Mirror Spock, but she bets he was as bad as all the rest of them. Whereas obviously we know as viewers that no, actually Mirror Spock
was the good one.
He's
the one who started all the revolution.
Exactly. So I thought that was a nice bit of dramatic irony.
Yeah, I also thought it was kind of like it was interesting when they did later on say who rescued the people. It's like I was thinking, well, Spock surely, because he was on that ship.
Yeah.
He turned out to be a good guy. It sort of felt like they were trying to force a backdoor solution to what happened with Mira Saru without him there, without him being featured. And it's like, oh yeah, he saved a load of people. It's like,
actually
I like the idea that Mira Saru helped.
What would be great to say it was Mira Saru and Mira Spock, like they teamed up together. Like,
the only thing I'm wondering about that is in the first DS9 Mirror episode, doesn't Intendant Kira tell you what happened to Mira Spock?
Maybe so.
So I have a feeling that she recounts
what she says.
She recounts like the history, and so I think Mirror Spock's spoken for in the timeline.
That's possible. Yeah, that would make sense then. But it's just, I don't know. It all seemed weird. It was where we were just hearing stuff and not seeing anything. It's just,
yeah. And then they go, right, let's do a scan. We've got 3 life signs in sickbay. So it's Mol and Locke and the Clue. And like, wait a minute, so the Clues are alive now and we expect them. We're not going to comment on the fact that this Clue is seemingly alive?
Yeah, it's not like, how are you automatically saying that's the clue? That's the clue.
The clue, and then when we do find it, it's not alive. So
and when they were saying life signs, this is where I was going. It's like, oh, cool, they're going to get a cameo. Like, could it be? Could it be an insane thing where, like, she was filming down the road, so they got Giorgio back?
I thought maybe Giorgio.
Could they be doing a reverse space seeds? So as opposed to it being Khan, you've got Kirk or Spock from the Mirror Universe. Like,
something like that.
Like, it just set us up for something we weren't getting once again.
But instead, they say it's a life sign, and then it turns out to be like a vial of liquid. But that's not a life sign. Anyway, okay. But anyway, then we get the revelation that Locke is not a Tosk. He is a different DS9 species. He is a Breen, which is the first time we've seen what the Breen look like.
Yeah, and badass new suit. I love the suits. I thought they totally worked as an updated version of the original as well. There was enough nods. Brilliantly done. I mean, they have done some really nice work, apart from with the Klingons, obviously, of reinventing some of
the Breen look cool, and they're different enough that Disney are not going to sue them for knocking off Princess Leia's bounty hunter outfit anymore. But also practicality. Now that we know the Breen don't have a big long nose, there's no reason why they would have this big long nose at the front of the. But yeah, they're recognisably the Breen that we know. But they've had an update, which makes sense in 800 years. So,
and I know we sort of get a bit here and a bit later, but can I also ask about like the two-faced thing?
Yeah,
that kind of lost me because
don't think it was very clear.
So when they take it off, so just to get what I understand, and then you can tell me where I'm missing something. Because it's like what I got was like when they take it off, it's like their face is jelly. When I first watched it, I thought, does it set? Like genuinely, that's what I was thinking. But then they said about them having 2 faces, and it's like one only is solid, one's not. I didn't know if that was going to be the mask, though. Educate me.
Right, it's because they have a liquid form and a solid form.
Yeah,
it's almost it's like I think this explains why they were so eager to help the changelings in DS9, and probably why the founders were so enamored to the Breen immediately, because I think it's implied in DS9 the founders at one point had been solids and evolved to be liquid, and I think the Breen are in that process. That they're sort of like half they're solid still, and they've got a liquid form. Because he even says that you're choosing that form.
Yeah,
and he goes, but you lose all your flexibility and ability to move it properly. And it's almost like they're wearing the suits, because it was always like originally it was surmised that Breen was a very cold world. And that's
that was the original theory.
Suits. But the founder said, no, the climate's quite nice. And the suits are Wayoon said the climate's quite nice. But I think it turns out these suits are actually to hold them together when they're in the liquid form. that they have the liquid form, so they have the suits to move about, because they're sort of still in that. If they go fully liquid, they're just a puddle.
Like them crap action figures you used to get, where it were like a jelly stretchy thing and you built armor around it.
Yeah.
I just think, I mean, it's like...
it's almost like they're halfway to evolving to being changelings.
Because, yeah, I mean, I sort of surmised what you're saying, basically, over the course of the second watching. But it's like, it just... Again, it's just like, why
It's
make
not very
it so
clear,
oblique the way
and
you explain
I
it?
think, I've watched it a couple of times and I got what they were saying about it. And I went back and watched this bit more than, when you just rewind a few minutes in a show.
There's the bit
and
where...
that's where I've got it from, that the actual liquid and the solid form that Locke's decided to use is actually the old form, and the evolving past that.
That does seem to be the impression, yeah. Like, but it's weird though that she keeps saying to him, "When are you going to show me your face?" And he says, "You've seen my face," but we've not seen her see his face by that point. That's just a little bit weird. But anyway,
yeah, I just think again, it's like you can work out all the information, much like with the demotion of Rayner, but it's like what we know from Discovery, where Saru and Burnham are on the bridge. We know you can have two captains, one taking out the position of first officer. Again, we can sort of surmise it over time, but like, why not just say it?
Some of mine is headcanoning.
Yeah,
because of what we see in DS9,
yeah.
But it does make sense why the founders were so enamored to the brain.
No, that's an position.
They're halfway between evolving into being a liquid.
Oh,
and I don't even mind them not saying that, because I feel like that is implied, and it's a nice thing for us to pick up, because it isn't necessary for the plot. Whereas them having two facial states kind of is, and they don't really explain it very well. Again, you can work it out.
I think that's what they mean. That there's the face.
I get what they mean, but I'm saying they don't say it.
And the face when they're solid, so the two faces.
No. Again, I can work it out, and I think you're right. But why not?
Yeah, it could have been.
It could have been
more clearly drawn in the episode, certainly. But I do like the flashbacks, and I'm again much like with actually feeling like I understand Buck's motivation. I'm actually starting to feel this relationship between Moll and Locke now. Like there's a really good bit where he first does show his face and she says, "Oh, hello, Locke." And you're like, oh, actually, there's a bit of chemistry between them. I can actually start to buy this now. And I feel like, again, we're getting it, but we've been asked to invest in these characters more before we got the reasons to invest in them.
It should have been earlier.
We have, exactly. We're halfway through the season. These have been an integral part of the story for this season, and it's halfway through before we're finding out why they're together.
And now I'm starting to like them, and maybe when I rewatch the season, I'll be like, "Oh, Moll and Locke, I like those guys." But I didn't feel that the first time.
You can't do it that way, though. Like, even if on a rewatch, that's kind of a cheat. It's like, it's just...
It is, I agree. I'm saying that's bad writing, but that may be the way I come at it. I'll be like, right, I get this now, and I can enjoy it now, but like, it should be written so I enjoy it more the first time.
I'll be fair, I quite like them as characters straight away, these two.
I just didn't feel any reason to invest.
We disagreed on that at the start.
Yeah. That's fine. I mean, to me though, it's like I could have done with this episode being a bit earlier, and then having the episode where they had on Trill, which would have split up the breakups, which were back to back, which was really felt like, oh god, we got another breakup episode straight after the last one. If you're gonna do that, it would have been better a bit later on. You maybe have kind of like Arium. No, not Adira. You could you could have had Adira going through this other stuff and feeling guilty and other stuff going on. Like, even have her kind of like worrying about, like, if you're gonna do it, just again spaced out from the other breakup, and then
it would have been nice.
The beginning.
But anyway, we're getting there now, halfway through the final season. So the conceit is that the security. the security screens come down and it splits the couples in two. So we've got Buck and Mal have to work together, and Michael and Locke trapped together. And interspersed with this, we get all the flashbacks and everything. And we get a bit where Mal is talking to Buck, and she says, my dad was always promising that he'd take us to the Gamma Quadrant, where there's this planet that's a paradise. And I was like, hang on, there's a Deep Space Nine episode called Paradise. And it's that one where they lock Cisco in a box.
Yeah.
And I was like, I wonder if it's that planet that's somehow become rehabilitated now that there's not a nutty settler on it who locks you in sweat boxes, you know.
That'd make a lot of sense, because it was a nice planet.
And it felt too pointed that she specifically says paradise when we know there's an episode called Paradise about a planet in the Gamma Quadrant. So my headcanon is that's the planet that they were going to go live on. You're right, it was a nice planet. Yeah. It was just...
It had a nut running it.
Yeah, questionable people running it. But,
and I still do love the whole thing of like, she's got a dream.
Like, she's Tories and Republicans.
I just love the fact that she, like, it added more texture to me, more reason to care about her, because she had a dream. She had something she was shooting towards. She's not just doing all this stuff randomly. There is a reason. There's all these antecedents, and some of them lock into Book, which was really great, and kind of gave him more reason to be about in this series. There was just so much more texture added.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah, and like I thought this was a very strong episode for Locke as well. Like the whole thing with his adopted dad, basically, and which is the same as hers, but they had such different experiences of the same guy. That's really rich kind of territory to walk in. Like, you know, maybe she got the wrong end of the stick about her dad, and maybe he didn't know the full story about what a dick his mentor could be, you know.
But also there is the possibility that yes, he was a shit dad, but he, as Buck says, but he was also a good mentor, you know,
which is quite possible.
That's what I mean.
Like
I love
sometimes you get people who are not great parents, but they're wonderful grandparents, you know. So it's
the old phrase, we all contain a multitude. We all contain a multitude.
Yeah.
We all can do different things to different people.
But you're right. This connection that felt very arbitrary to begin with, where it's like, oh, she's the daughter of my thing. And that just felt so tenuous and forced, and whereas now we are doing the building work for it, and the bit where he explains to her, like, it's because she says, why are you so obsessed with helping me? And he says, well, because I'm from Quajon and I lost everything. And okay, it is a tenuous link, but you are the closest I've got to a family. So that fits into how Buck's been feeling, and it makes sense as a motivation. Whereas the way it was sold before this,
we could have done this before.
Yeah, the way it was sold before this was, oh well, it's the daughter of my mentor, so I must seek her out. And you're like, what? That's it?
Yeah. That's
like. Whereas this feels, he's projecting his loss onto this person, and he's struggling for that last bit of tenuous connection that he feels in the universe, the galaxy, whatever you want to say.
It's interesting, isn't it? It's like when you look at Prodigy, Lower Decks, Strange New Worlds, they're very episodic, and we get a bit of character growth throughout them, and they can run a story with it. Discovery is trying to do a story per season.
Yeah.
Basically. And they're really, really bad at long-form storytelling. They don't know when you're meant to sort of do your explanations and then get into the main plot and all that.
No, in fact, actually, I was nodding, but I disagree with you. They know how to do a long-form story. They're going after a thing, and it'll take 10 episodes. Done. That's all you need.
Pretty much.
It's all just, they're really bad at the structure of how to do it.
Oh yeah,
they are not great at the structure. It's true.
Although
it's why it stands, and it's why it falls behind when you rank the Star Treks.
Yeah,
behind all three of them I mentioned.
No, I agree.
Picard had its problems for the first 2 seasons. in long-form storytelling. And Star Trek has never been about long-term storytelling. A story arc like DS9 did great, but there's still lots and lots of standalone episodes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I still think they could do it. Like, I mean, if you get the DS9 series, like, you could pick 10 episodes where it's an ongoing story. They could do it, like, you know, but Disco just hasn't cracked the code. Although, I just want to shout out, though, it's also nice that you've got this episode where you've not only got Book and Burnham together, you've got two other couriers, and you didn't once get Book or Burnham saying,
no,
"Oh, let's try a Romulan rim job on this one." Like, there was no mention
waiting
of
for
previous.
it.
Yeah, I was so happy.
I was waiting for it, but again, the courier business actually did tie in quite well, where you get Book saying, you know, I was in love with Michael and we were couriers and we did it. And it's like, yeah, okay, there is similarities between the two pairings. You know, it's like, yes, good. You're taking stuff you've done and you're building it and you're using it to forward the story that you're telling, which this sounds so patronizing. It's like, I should not have to be complimenting a show that's in its 5th season for doing rudimentary television storytelling, but it does feel like, okay, they've done that, well done. And it's like, no, these are the things. Yeah, these are the things we should take for granted that they're doing, and it shouldn't be that when I'm making my notes, I'm going, oh, they did that basic thing very well there. Yeah. But again, I do think this was a decent, strong-ish episode, aside from the issues we've covered. But okay, so they lower the shields, and Michael and Locke start fighting. Even watching it twice, I'm not entirely clear on why the fight breaks out, other than we want them to have a fight.
Yeah,
did I miss something?
No, I think you just about nailed it.
Yeah.
So that's a shame. They should have found a reason for them to turn on each other, because up until that point, it feels like she's getting through to him, and you even have Locke sort of asking, right, well, what'll happen if we turn ourselves in? Do we get to do our time together? And it's like he is considering it, and then it just goes, oh, the ship's rocked, let's have a fight. And what? So, yeah, I wasn't entirely clear on that. And obviously, you know where this is going from this point. It's like, right, well, clearly, Book and Mal are going to walk in and see that they're fighting, and that's going to erode all the trust that we've built up, which is a bit of a shame, because I think we did much better with the characters this episode. And we end up pretty much with a sort of I'll get you next time gadget sort of ending. It's like, Mal and Locke have gone again, but don't worry, there's a warp signature. It's like, really?
Oh,
like, we've done that. No, I know, I'm jumping.
You've missed the best bit, the whole episode.
Go on.
There's 2 bits, one of which is perhaps more genuinely meant than the other. First bit is when they kind of like see on the bridge, and like I think it's Locke who says, like, you're going to say, like, hit it, which is Pike's like thing to think, which just sounds like kind of nice, because we're so used to when it's a mirror universe or the Enterprise, when it's a callback to the Enterprise, it's about Kirk's kind of
you're right.
Legend. They made it about Pike's legend, which was really nice. But then following that, it's then when she goes, no, let's just fly. It's like, oh, she did it.
There it was. She said the thing.
She said the thing.
Oh, thank God she's not getting.
I like that. You're right. Yeah, it's why don't you say hit it? So clearly, Book's been reading his history, because, like, how the hell does Book know what Captain Pike's catchphrase was? Well, maybe you get like
to show it as if like Pike's legend is just as big.
Yeah, as much as Kirk's. Yeah, I like that. Nice. Maybe they have like trading cards, you know, and it says like Captain Pike, height 6'1", favorite quote, hit it.
Well, I'm just waiting till they go even further back and they show April, Robert April as the captain.
Yeah.
Because he was the first captain of the Enterprise, I believe.
It's never been canonically confirmed. He's only existed canonically since they brought him in Strange New Worlds. But
no,
but yes,
he was in the original series, wasn't he?
April wasn't. No, he was in the animated
He's
series.
in the animated series.
He was not in
Yeah.
the original series.
No, he was not in the original.
That's how much he's been mentioned in the books and the animated series.
He's been mentioned a
him.
lot, and the photo of Captain April in the Star Trek Encyclopedia is Gene Roddenberry in a Star Trek uniform.
Back Strange New Worlds next, because I'm sure in
Strange New Worlds. Well, April is in Strange New Worlds.
No, not that bit. I swear in that they reference at some point that he was the first captain of the Enterprise. I
Maybe
thought
they have now.
Series, so I might be wrong, but yeah.
Right. It's never been properly established prior. Well, again, apart from unless you count the animated series, which some people do, some people don't.
There are so many books which reference him as well.
Oh, yeah. He's one of them that's always been a part of the mythology, but has only recently been officially sort of canonized, if you like.
I like that.
So yeah. And we have to get us a little bit of Michael and Buck melodrama that she says, oh, by the way, when I went back in time, we were really happy. And it's like, yeah, okay. You didn't have to tell him that. In fact, even Buck says that. It's like, really? I don't, let's not do this.
Yeah.
Like, no. I've got nothing else to say, so I'm going to bring that up.
Well, I just mention one of the biggest travesties of this season.
Yeah.
Of this Enterprise.
Go on.
When it said the Enterprise is going to be taken back to space dock.
Yeah. Oh,
so
I think I know where you're going with this.
Let's let Dykmer and Woo-Woo fly, because that'll be a great honour for them to do that. Oh, yeah, brilliant. Have we noticed they haven't been in this season?
They haven't, but also...
And now, when they do this, we still don't see them.
We don't, but also...
We
have seen Detna, but not Wushaku.
We have seen her, but not much.
We've seen them, but that was only in the time travel one.
Yeah, because I noticed whenever they show the bridge, we've got... Like, each episode, I swear, they've got more people on the bridge we've never met.
They do seem to.
Like this episode, you got a big handover.
I did notice something that's really nice here with Reitner. How do you pronounce it? Rainer. That is actually asking the bridge crew for stuff, and they're answering him, and we're hearing the bridge crew talk.
Yeah, that was a really good scene, and they're all contributing to the solution, and they're all working together. Yeah, but
still.
We've had a plot point already this season of Raina getting to know the crew. And one of the things he found out about Reese is that he loves ships, particularly the 23rd century Constitution class, which we've just found one of them. Who shall we let fly it back? Not Reese.
Not Reese.
That's so true. How did I not pick up on that?
Because I wonder if Detmer and Woo-Woo have sort of like asked for more lines and more stuff as
they've not.
In it, and they've had a fallout with producers.
Either that or they've just deliberately decided, right, because we're up to season 5. They've been supporting roles in it since the start. Their pay's probably got quite high now. And we're just not using them. We haven't done for 5 seasons. So maybe they're just like, yeah, it's fine. You can leave mid-season.
I bet their pay was never that good. I really think it's just a case of they've just been there. Probably, I mean, there's either one of two things. Either they've gone, it's like, well, we're still getting paid about the same. We're not getting any character development. Fuck it. Like, we're getting small increments of pay raises.
Maybe.
Or, well, again, it kind of does seem to support my theory that there may have been murmurings before it got cancelled that
I think
going to be the last series. There's so many things which play as if it's the last
series,
including people going off on other jobs, which usually happens.
The fact that we've got an Enterprise and we've got the shots of Discovery and Enterprise nose to nose, which calls back to the season 1 finale. It just feels like we're being very self-referential. We're doing a lot of callbacks to our own history.
Wrapping up the mirror universe without anyone there.
It makes you wonder if they put that shot in after they found out they were cancelled.
Maybe, but I feel like
I'm not sure when exactly It's about now that they found out they've been cancelled.
Possibly. I feel like they knew the writing was on the wall and were planning that it could be.
I think it's one of those things. It's like we know it's probably a last series, but we're hopeful it's not. That's the vibe I'm getting.
It's probably like Paramount went, look, we've got to cut you because we need to make Knuckles.
Yeah, you might even get the same thing which they did.
Yeah, we've got to pay for Idris Elba to do a voice.
If they had expanded it for one more series, don't worry. I checked out after the first.
I have. Don't watch it.
I checked out after this first.
I have done it, so no one else has to.
But what I was going to say was, I'm definitely getting the vibe. Like, I mean, I wonder actually if they had got extended for another series, if it would be like Babylon 5, where they kind of suspected this was going to be the last one, wrapped everything up, and then had to force another series. Because
maybe
I don't think that's the problem with Star Trek. I think it's a lot. I think
the way they've done it.
I think Babylon 5 was so structured in its story.
Yeah, it was. It had one ongoing. Well,
no. But what I'm saying is, if you do a series where you wrap everything up because you're suspicious,
I get what you mean. Yeah,
like they did with Enterprise. They didn't know. I don't think even then they knew for sure, but they got to make a last episode. But I'm just saying, if they then had done what, like, because the fans were campaigning for another series, if they got another series, I think that would have felt incredibly forced because they wrapped it up even badly.
Enterprise was cut after they made that last episode because they said if they knew it was that was the last episode, they wouldn't have made that the last episode.
Oh, okay. Oh, I thought that was purposeful. Oh,
no, I thought it was done. I thought they were cancelled afterwards.
I really don't know.
But if that was a conscious decision, that this is going to be a great way to see out the show.
I think it was. I think that was
whoever made that decision needs putting against a wall.
To my memory, it's like because even though Star Trek back then was always sort of guaranteed for the 26 episode, however many it was, I think the way it's filmed is still like you get your 13 filmed and then you go for the back 9. I think it was
back 9. Well,
so I think they heard. I seem to remember them hearing between the break, so they knew to wrap it up right at the end.
Possibly. Right. I mean, by the time you're in like your whatever season, usually they will order a full. I'm saying as if TV's the same now as it was then, but usually with an established show, they would order a 22 episode season rather than doing the 13 and then the back 9. I think if you were a show that had been running several years and they said, oh, you know what, next season we'll start with 13, see how we go, you would know.
Oh, I didn't mean the see as you go, but I just meant that, like, just the way they film things in America.
The way they film things,
I think they do it 13 and back 9 back in the day was because they naturally take a break halfway through filming anyway, just the way American TV works.
Yeah, they would do.
And then if you didn't have the back 9 guaranteed, you'd wait to hear. But if you already had a full series order, you just have the break and then go back. Yeah. So I think the break was still there, though.
Yeah.
One other one I wanted to... Sorry, if you still got more notes.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to talk about... We were talking about the other bridge officers, and another bit where I thought they were really kind of taking the piss out of them was a similar thing. They had them, like, they start the scene in their version of 10 Forward, where you've got the piano where Lyle's playing, and you've got Reese Bryce, same guy, we all know that. You've got him standing over, and I'm thinking, it's like, oh wow, we're gonna get a character moment with him. No, of course we're not. We go straight over to Telly, and it's like it's just so funny because in like Next Generation, you would have had a little character moment between those two.
But yeah, you would. You'd have had even if it was just a few seconds of something happening.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the thing of them going to the Enterprise to take it back feels like a setup for an episode with Washaku.
And maybe we'll get that next week.
But we won't. That's the point. We won't.
No, we won't.
But that's the thing. Any other series that would have been laying that up. Yeah, they'll mention it. We'll never see it.
That they were going to have an adventure on the way back to space stock in the Enterprise.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should have that. We got.
But did you spot in the bar that there's a Morn on the end of the bar?
And did you spot that it's a Ferengi barkeeper?
And there's a Ferengi as well. Yeah.
Oh, I need to watch that.
So,
it's a Ferengi.
We've basically got Quark and Morn.
So we've got Quark's basically on.
And is the Ferengi? Sorry, I've got to watch this back. Is the Ferengi sort of like a la the one we saw briefly in last series?
It's less so. It's more classic Ferengi. It's probably about halfway through classic and what we did last time.
Because the other one, like the ones last time, I didn't have an objection to it, but it just looked like the classic Ferengi, but slightly square, like almost like kind of reminded me of sea elves, bizarrely enough.
It's probably about halfway in between, so it's an improvement.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean that about wraps us up. Oh, sorry, we got to talk about what happened. So there's a vial of liquid, and they're gonna run some, which is a life form. And they're going to run... So, it should be that life form out of home soil. It should be like giving them shit, calling them ugly bags of mostly water or something.
No, it should be like a bit of a... You remember the one where Odo buys like another...
Oh, yeah, that'd be good.
It looks a bit like that, doesn't it?
When the abandoned...
The abandoned...
Vortex.
Is it Vortex?
Vortex is when it... sorry, yeah, no, you're right. The abandoned and then it grows into a chain. Vortex is season 1, but that's where he gets the thing that's like a little key.
Yeah, no, I think that's what he was talking about, wasn't it? The key one.
No, I meant the one where he buys it off Quark, the actual life.
Oh, and it becomes a... Sorry,
yeah. He starts trying to train it. Yeah, abandoned.
The begotten.
Yeah, that's better. Yeah, the begotten.
So I actually thought we were talking about the episode you said, and I said the episode, the one you were talking about.
But that made quite good sense that that'd be sort of like the ultimate life form, and that's why the Green are after it.
Yeah, that'd be all right, yeah.
Be nice.
And that was...
One thing I feel like they've missed out when they've gone to the future is we've seen very few of the... Like, we've only seen a couple of the species we're familiar with, and it's lovely to see how they've evolved and changed, even if just in minor roles, like with the Ferengi just being the background. Like, or, just have a scene with them.
800 years on, and they're still serving bar.
Yeah.
They still got the lobes.
I can't remember what species form is, but it's still propping up the bar.
Another good bit of writing is that when we went to the future and we said, right, the Breen have destroyed everything, or they must have been Mullen Locke's highest bidder. But now we go back and go, no, actually... The reason they're giving it to the Breen is because they think it's the only thing that'll get this. I forget what name they use, but basically a fatwa that he's got on him.
Yeah.
And they say, right, so that now ties in. It's like, no, they weren't giving it to the highest bidder. They were specifically always going to give it to the Breen to buy his freedom. So I like that as an extra sort of wrinkle to it that. Because it seemed a little bit out of left field to go, it's the Breen. Because you're like, okay, we know of the Breen, but that's an interesting choice.
How did they get the money more than anyone else?
Yeah, and then it's like, no, this now makes sense. So I like that. I thought that was good writing as well.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I was butthurt when I heard it wasn't the Tusk, but when they justified it, I was like, no, no play. They did it.
Funnily enough, I saw an article came up on my Facebook feed, and it said, Locke's species revealed this week on Discovery, and I was like, I wonder, is it going to be the Tusk? I thought we'd broken a story there. We were going to be right, but no, never mind.
No, I don't mind if they do something good with it, which they did. Fair play.
Which they have, yeah.
Well, nicely done, and it was nicely justified why.
And it does something
the chase was so important to him.
Yeah, interesting. Built out a species we didn't know very much about. Done something interesting with them. So yeah, I am looking forward to how this all plays out. And obviously now, can you imagine the amount of time we can dedicate to the story now that we don't have to worry about Owo and Detmer and all the screen time they take up? So we're going to have loads of time.
I'm looking forward to their adventures on the way to Space Stock.
Maybe so. I think you'll probably have to check out the tie-in novel that'll be written about it.
Yeah, you think I'll have to be disappointed with screen time.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I will be very happily surprised if they do put an Enterprise Detmer Ushku storyline. If they do their play, but they have not given us form before. Let's just say that.
No, I would be surprised. Yeah. But anyway, so that about wraps it up for this episode. We'll find out next week whether they find the next clue or what happens, but we'll be along for the ride anyway. In the meantime, you can get in touch with us, retrekpod at gmail.com. We're at retrekpod on X. We're on all the socials apart from, we are on Facebook, but you can't watch us on Facebook as we alluded to at the start. However, what you can watch is Retrek Model Studios on YouTube.
And I will show you where we're up to. This is getting quite big.
That's what she said.
And I'm building this.
So if you want to check out Elliot's cosplay build of the Doomsday Machine, that's on YouTube, Retrek Model Studios. Dr. Squee, what have we got going on the Dr. Squee show?
Well, tomorrow I will be doing my civic duty, which I'm also getting paid for by helping out with the elections. So I'm taking a week off and we'll be back with a new episode next week. But please go to youtube.com/Dr. Squee. If you're not already subscribed, please do. And enjoy all the goodness that is there, including some lovely Star Trek, Doctor Who, and lovely other sci-fi goodies there.
And in the meantime, let's fly.
Let's fly.
Let's fly, Dragon, and prosper.
Fascinating.
Just realised I missed a trick. Let's dragonfly.
Oh, good one. Next week. There's always